Welcome, everybody. We are joining in to you live. I'm in Tokyo, and I'm very excited to have our good friend Toshitaka from Yunige. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everybody.
Yes. Everyone is good. Great to have everybody with us here today. We have a very special training about some new changes that have affected Japan imports. So recently, there's been changes by Japan Customs as of October 1st, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Like our IORs, import of records, like the previous way foreign companies import into Japan, are they still legal, or are there new methods that we have to consider, as well as importing as a foreign company and LLC? And we had dozens of questions beforehand. So I'm very excited to invite Mr. Toshitaka from Yunige and their team to give us the latest updates. And I think one of the coolest part about this is, especially if you're a seller, you can get all your questions answered. And even if you're not a seller, because I know some of you guys are running agencies and you guys want to get the latest information as well. So you can get smart about this in front of your clients. I think there's a ton of value that's going to be delivered here today. Toshitaka is going to summarize what are some of the main changes with the law, what sort of things have changed since the last time we met in Japan at the Seven-Figure Seller Japan Mastermind, as well as some issues about importing as foreign companies. All right. So I'm very excited to have everybody with us here today. We will have time for a Q&A at the end. And if you can please type in your name and where you are joining us from, just so we know, that would be great. I see some familiar faces out in the audience. Welcome to Sumire from Yunige. Welcome. Also, I see Sangwook. It's great to see you, G from Korea, I believe, and Umair is here as well. Also familiar faces. And also, before I forget, this live training, I mean, it's brought to you for free. Like previously, I've organized similar events in person back when I was the chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai. I used to chair the supply chain committee, and we used to charge like thousands of dollars for annual membership just to get the latest information from experts like Toshitaka. And today we're delivering this to you for free. And it's brought to you by the Seven-Figure Seller Japan Mastermind. So this is the premier in-person conference for Amazon sellers that want to sell in Japan. We had a great event last April. Toshitaka was there, as well as some people in the audience. And also we are planning our second event next year in April, okay? April 8th to the 9th, 2024. It's going to be in Okinawa. I'll share more details afterwards, but thanks so much, everybody, for coming in here. Okay. So Toshitaka-san, I know you have a ton of value. So without further ado, would you like to start your presentation and share your slides?
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you, Gary, for letting me do this. I do appreciate this. This is a very important information. Before October, I know that a lot of forwarding companies were telling everybody about the news of October 1st, the change in the rules, and but not a lot of information was spread out. And so giving me the chance to explain to everyone, I think will be very informative. And if there's anything that Yunige can help, we will be there and we'll be happy to be of service. And so I'm going to open my slide and share my screen. Okay.
Looks good.
Okay. So basically the import laws has changed after October 1st. And this is what is on the Japanese import page. And I'm gonna share a link for this later on so that everybody can actually see it. But this is what is on the web page of Japanese Customs. And to be brief, this lower right hand part, which is this part, this is probably the most important part. What happens is before a foreign country seller could sell their items and import the items into Japan using some type of import agency or IOR and fulfill those items into a fulfillment center in the warehouse. After October 1st, Customs is saying you cannot do this. If you want to do this, then the seller, the foreign seller, must become a non-resident importer. And by doing this, they will have to use an ACP service, an attorney custom procedure service, and they will be able to import the items. And in small print, if I go back here, in small print, they're saying that this is actually for fulfillment services. So this FC means the fulfillment services. And they're probably trying to point fingers at Amazon. This is basically Amazon FBA. And so anything that's going directly to Amazon FBA, Customs has been very sensitive. And from October 1st, they passed a law saying that you cannot use an IOR. Now, I guess the simplest answer would be, okay, then everybody should use an ACP. But one big downfall for that is ACP is only for non-regulated compliance, non-regulated items. So cosmetic items, food-related items, electronic items, children items. These items cannot be imported using an ACP. And so uh, this will be the procedure that we do, and we will be the importer, importing your items into Japan if you're not going to use an ACP service. Now, what an importer means is the way Customs is explaining it is it's who is the person that is actually buying the product. And this might be a bit difficult to understand, but let's say you imported your item into Japan and it went directly to FBA. The first person that buys that item is probably the consumer on Amazon. So therefore, what Customs is saying is, if that is so, then that selling price you're selling on Amazon will be the declaration value that you need to declare upon import. As an importer, if you're going to be an importer, they're saying that the importer is the person that is going to buy the product. And so this will be the first person that actually buys the product in Japan. So therefore, the buying price here will be the declared value. Now, before October 1st, an IOR, they did not have to buy the product. They could just become the importer. And so Customs, they did not really have a clear understanding of what the commercial invoice value was. If it was going directly to FBA, then they needed to submit the retail price. And so I guess because of all the hassles, Customs just decided to say, and we will prohibit IOR, use ACP, or have an actual importer. And so, in short, this is basically what happened after October 1st. Now, it is a bit spooky because before that, everybody was talking about it, and then after October 1st, Customs is a bit quiet at the moment. I have not heard a lot of issues, and so for probably a lot of the sellers that are selling in Japan at the moment, there's not an, uh, an immediate impact on them. But what I don't like about that is when that happens, it will be related to tax penalties and shipment stops at port. And so to avoid that, Yunige has kind of changed the way we import items, and we made sure that everything is complied, everything is legal, and we will become the importer, and we will be able to inbound your items to FBA. And so, again, really quick, an ACP.
Toshitaka-san, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
can I interrupt? I think this is just very super important. Just make sure everybody understands the
Okay.
change. right? The change from before October 1st to after October 1st. So if I understand, first, like from the customs perspective, it
Mhm.
seems that they're going after Amazon sellers that are importing into Japan. Is my understanding correct?
I would say yes, that is the correct understanding.
Okay. And then secondly, from the Amazon seller perspective, if let's say I'm a foreign company, I'm like a US LLC, for example, previously I could import. Could you go back to your slide, like that really useful slide, like from October 1st?
This one?
Um, no, the one with the big X and the IOR.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So before October 1st, I could use an IOR, right? And then
Right.
the import declared value would only be my invoice value or like, my, the factory FOB price, for example. Okay. But now after October 1st, I can't do that anymore. Is that right?
Even before October 1st, using an IOR, if customs understood that that item was going directly to FBA, then customs will, even then, would request a screenshot of the Amazon page and explain that that is the selling price. And they would deduct all of the FBA expenses, but that would be the declaration value.
Mhm.
But that was okay. After October 1st, in writing, what customs is saying is even if I do that, I can't import it because I'm an IOR.
Mhm.
And so even if I wanted to submit that the product is being sold on Amazon with this price, I cannot import it because that's an IOR thing. And so I would have to use, or the seller would have to use an ACP service. However, the big question that we have, since we are dealing with a lot of compliance items, if it's cosmetic or food items, I can't use an ACP. And so we kind of eliminated that from our service. We never did it from the start, but we eliminated that from our service and we just stuck to the importer part.
Okay. So now we cannot use IOR and the customs declared value is going to be the Amazon selling price, the retail, right?
Um, right. So the left side would be ACP. They would need the ACP. They would need to be a non-resident importer,
Hmm.
and they would have to declare everything that is being sold on Amazon at Amazon retail price.
Okay. So in terms of the compliance for this, I believe you said right now customs isn't really actively enforcing this. Is that right?
No, they're not looking into it. They're not that sensitive at the moment. And so I was thinking that maybe they will be requesting a lot of documents upon import, but
Hmm.
apparently that's not happening. Everything is just going really smooth.
Hmm.
And so that's what's spooky. They might come back to us saying, okay, show me this, show me that, because
Yeah.
these are the laws that have been effective from October 1st.
Mm. Okay. That kind of reminds me of what um, one of my friends, Nick, says. Like sometimes the Japanese authorities, they give you like a rope and then they make it long enough so you can hang yourself with it, right? So
Right, right.
they wait for you to keep, not following the rules, and then they come back and then they penalize you for that.
Right.
Is that common in Japan in your experience?
Oh yes, it's very common. They will do the inspection afterwards. It's kind of like a tax revenue. The customs inspection will come. There was a question, what is
Yeah.
ACP? ACP is an attorney for custom procedures.
Okay. What does that? I mean, what is the role of that ACP? If I'm a
Um,
seller, why do I need ACP, and what do they do for
it,
me?
it's kind of like Nick was explaining this as well. It's kind of like the parent of the child that's trying to import the item. And so they're going to let the child do it, but they need somebody to be held responsible for it, even even though they're not a non-resident. So somebody in Japan that's a resident will need to help sign the papers and register them. And if there is anything that occurs, that ACP representative will probably have to take responsibility.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions before we move forward? No. Okay, let's keep going, Toshitaka.
Okay. And so again, an ACP importer right now after October 1st, these will be the two major ways of getting your items into Japan. ACP for non-regulated items only. Importer, we can import anything, compliance. Unfortunately, Yunige cannot help with medical items, but anything else, probably cosmetic, food, electrical items, these are all okay. And uh, with using an ACP from port to FBA, if it's not a container, then it can be sent directly. With an importer, we can do that, but as a rule for Yunige, we will have all items inbounded into our warehouse and then sent to FBA. For import tax, the taxes will need to be paid by the exporter. So normally this procedure would be probably DDP. And so they will be held responsible for an importer. The importer will need to pay the tax. Of course, the shipment can be DDP. Any taxes that we pay, we will be invoicing to the seller. And for the Japan consumption tax, since you're already registered, the Japanese government knows that the exporter or the non-resident importer is the person that declared the taxes. As an importer, since the importer will be the people that are declaring the taxes, any other information for JCT you'll need to consult with your local CPA.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent.
And
There was a question from Nick. Why will
okay.
Yunige not do ACP?
That's well, basically, since we can be the importer, I don't really know a reason why we need to be an ACP is the simplest answer. And let me go back a bit here. If you look at where was it? If you look here, I don't know if you can see it, but oops, oops. Here, if somebody does not have an ACP already designated, then customs will designate an ACP. And so, um, is that visible? So, even if we did it or didn't do it, if somebody did not have an ACP and when it comes in, customs is already going to designate somebody for you. And so, I don't really see a good meaning for us to be the ACP at the moment. I mean, if there is, please give me some comments on that and I will look into it.
Okay, sounds good. What's next?
So yeah, basically for this part, all my explanation is okay, and maybe we should go to some questions. I'm sure a lot of people will have questions that need to be
Yes,
answered.
yes, yeah. We have several dozen questions that were pre-submitted by people that RSVP'd onto the
Okay.
webinar, and then also for the people joining us live. I know that there was a lot of jargon, you know, ACP, IOR, etc. So if you have any questions about that or any particulars about your business, please let us know right now. Feel free to either raise your hand or type your question in the chat. I want to make sure this is a valuable opportunity for everyone that is here with us live today. Okay. Umair had a question. What's the
Okay.
difference in importing and acting as an IOR as a Japanese company? So, Umair, if you'd like to unmute yourself, do you want to elaborate on that? Because I believe you have a Japanese company.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for letting me speak here, Nick. So what I want to know, like, what's the biggest difference is being an IUR and being an importer in Japan? For to become an importer, do you need some kind of you can say certificates or anything here in Japan as a Japanese company, or you can simply just declare yourself as an importer and you can help sellers import the goods on your information and then send it to your warehouse and then send it to FP warehouse.
Okay, so the terminology IOR importer, this might be quite confusing. If I were to put it in a simple way, when the items are imported into Japan, customs is going to ask one big question. They're going to ask, how did you pay for it? And if you're able to submit documents referring to how you paid for it or how you will be paying for it, then you can be the importer. So it's a matter of will you be able to submit those documents? Now, if an IOR did not pay for it, then they will not have those documents, and it's you're going to have issues.
I see. So if I understand it better, the biggest difference in being an IUR and importer is that if you are an IUR, you can submit the invoice from your seller's, you can say, supplier or freight forwarder. The seller have paid for it, and I'm helping them import. But if you are going to be an importer, you will have to show that you have paid for these goods and you are importing it. Did I understood it correctly?
Yes, that's correct. And so if the seller has paid for it and you submit those documents to customs, they're going to say that seller is not in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that seller need an to be an ACP. So if that seller is not ACP, then it's better to go with an importer.
Correct, correct.
All right. So if myself as a Japanese company, like if I want to do become an importer for my clients, so we can make an invoice on our company details. So
Yeah, yeah,
are there
yeah.
some
So
consequences
yes,
on that, or what's?
yes. So I'm sure if you're able to submit those documents saying that you paid for it or this is how you will be paying for it, customs will understand that and you can be the importer.
Is that clear, Umer?
Did we
Did we
lost you?
lose you? We don't hear
Definitely.
you.
You cannot hear me.
I hear you
No, we
now.
can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm joining from my mobile, so really sorry for that. So we can say like biggest thing have been changed. Like if I can understand it correctly, before if you are an IUR, you were submitting the invoice from your clients, but now you have to submit on your name. So that's the biggest thing have been changed. I can understand it. Clear?
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Good question.
Yeah,
Thanks, Umer.
yeah. Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop in the chat or raise your hand. I have some pre-submitted questions I'd like to go through. So let me see. So I understand. So we talked about the changes in the law. Okay. And someone had a question about how to import into Japan. There's a rough process. Can you walk us through the steps, Toshitaka, of how to import
Yeah.
into Japan?
Okay, so these are steps that we take at Yunige, and so this might not be for all of the importers, but if you can use that reference, that would be great. Normally, what we do is we first do a compliance check. We need to know what kind of item it is, what it is. As an importer, I need to be able to explain everything to customs when it comes into Japan. And so I take the time to make sure that I understand everything and make sure everything is complied. So after the compliance check, we will be sending you a contract. And in the contract, we will be discussing that we will be the importer. And after that, after the contract is signed, we will prepare the international shipping, or you can prepare the international shipping. Documents need to be prepared and the items come into Japan. Once it arrives, we will be in contact with the custom broker, and we'll get your items imported. Next, everything will be distributed to our warehouse. If there is any FBA preparation needed, we will do that as well. Reserve your slot for FBA inbound, and have them delivered to Amazon. And after that, you should be able to see your items pop up online on Seller Central.
Okay, excellent. And there also were some questions about, someone had a question about how to comply with electronic regulations to import from China to Japan. Can you speak on that?
Right. So electronic items, and this is a very strict rule, but it's not 100% done on Amazon. I see a lot of Chinese electrical items that are not going through the PSE certification process. This is in the US, just like UL. In Europe, maybe it might be this close to CE. So this is the regulation that the Japanese government is enforcing for electronic items with an electrical cord that is actually put into the electrical outlet. And depending on the category of that item, some items will need a specific test lab report from the manufacturer or the factory in China, and that will need to be submitted to the importer. Now, again, this is very important. The importer is the person that is held responsible for importing that item and notifying the Japanese government that this is being imported. Before using an IOR, since there is no check at customs, things were coming in and nobody was really checking it. But since that item cannot be imported as an ACP, once they know that it's an electrical item, your item may get stopped, even if you're using an ACP service. And so in that case, you will need to refer an importer, and that importer will have to go through all of the registration with the Japanese government. So please be aware of that. If you're using a USB operated item, it's DC 5 volts. You won't have to worry about PSC. The AC adapter will, but your USB operated or USB running item will not. However, mobile batteries will also need a PSC registration. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi items, radio frequency emitting items, these will not be under PSC, but it'll have another registration or certificate that is needed for these to be used in Japan.
Okay, thank you. I see there was a question from Minako in the chat in Japanese. Can somebody help support on that?
Okay.
Do you hear me? It's
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, well, I wanted Toshitaka-san to, just make it clear again that, when the seller becomes importer, because we used to be importer for the electric appliance, and we registered for the PSE, but when the seller becomes an importer, what happens?
So by law, in Japan, the only person that can register that PSC is somebody that has an entity in Japan. First, they have to register their entity to the government and then the PSC. So if they're trying to use an ACP service and the exporter is the importer, he does not have an entity in Japan, he cannot import it.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
Okay,
Okay. They can.
Yeah, so that's where it goes. You can't use that those items for ACP, and you'll have to refer to an importer.
Even though they have the certificate from the a designated laboratory in overseas.
Right. So this happens a lot. They have the certificate. The certificate is only to show that that item is okay. PSC is connected to the importer. The importer needs to register the PSC to the Japanese government. And by registering it, they need the certificate. If they don't have the certificate, they can't register. So it's certificate first, PSC second.
Oh, so is it possible if the ACP APC ACP do the registration on behalf of importer? Is it possible?
No, because that person will need to be the importer.
Oh, I see. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question. So just to understand this in detail, so as an importer, you will be paying for all the goods that arrive in Japan, so that there will be like an actual bank transaction from you, like buying the products from the client. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's not that simple, but we have talked to our legal attorneys on how we can do this, and we have kind of found a solution, and hopefully it will be a good solution, and we will not go into any issues. We have a lot of tax attorneys and legal attorneys working on this, and to my understanding, everything is legal in the way we are doing it at the moment.
Okay, thanks. I trust in that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dano. And we have a question from Kwak. If we found an importer in Japan, could I import cosmetics to Japan without ACP?
So yeah, it's the other way around. You cannot use an ACP to import cosmetics, so you will need an importer, and that importer will need a cosmetic item license. But yeah, if you're able to find that importer, yes, you can import it.
Okay, excellent. And Toshitaka, are there any other slides you'd like to share, or would you like to turn off the screen share for
Oh.
now?
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Okay,
I mean, I
excellent.
get nervous when I see my face, so
It's all good, all good. Okay.
okay.
We still have some more questions, but I wanted to take this opportunity to ask Toshitaka to share more how people can find out more about Yunige if they want to connect with you, if they want some help with the whole import process. What's the best way to connect with you?
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, let me give you a quick introduction of myself and Yunige. We are located in Osaka, Shin Osaka, right next to the Shinkansen. So if anybody comes by, please drop by. Japan is the weather is getting great. It's a great time to come. So welcome. But we have entities around the world in UK, in Italy, in the US, and also in China, Korea, India, and Hong Kong, and UAE. And so if there's any help needed in these countries as well, we will be more than happy to be the IOR in these countries and provide any import or export services. We do specialize in cosmetic items, compliance items. For Japan, a cosmetic license is needed to import. And so with the license, we can import your cosmetic items. However, before importing, the compliance check is strictly needed. If we make a mistake in importing a, a cosmetic item that's not complied with Japanese rules, it will affect us, extremely. So we're very strict about the ingredients used and the package, the writings on the package. But as long as we can do all those tests and checks, they can be imported. Food as well. Any food related kitchen items, these all need food registrations, and we can do that as well. With the talk with the PSC, the electronic items, this too is something that we have been doing for many customers, and I'm sure we'll be able to help on these items as well. And just general items, non-compliance items, it's always good to do a compliance check just to make sure, because there are certain items that are really tricky and in the gray zone. And so, please ask us, about information of getting things into Japan. And again, if there's any export needed, we can help on that as well.
Excellent. And I know that I want to thank Yunige also for offering a discount on the initial compliance check fee. Can you tell us more about that and how people can take advantage of that offer?
Yeah, so okay, let me show this slide. Hang on. So one thing that kind of changed after the seven-figure seminar that we had in Tokyo. Um, we we needed to do a lot of the compliance check after October 1st, just to make sure that everything is understood. And for that, we are now asking a fee for the check only. So it will be 3,000 yen per SKU for compliance check. But with the coupon here, and I'll share that in the chat later. You will be able to buy advance buy the what should I say, the SKUs. So like if you buy 3 SKUs, you'll get 5% off. If you buy 5 SKUs, you'll get 10% off. If you buy 10 SKUs, you'll get 20% off. You don't have to use these at all at once. If you know that you will be checking for your items in the future, but you only want to check one, but if you're willing to pay upfront the amount here, then we can give you the discounts. And with this, we will check your item. We will make sure that everything is complied. We will get back to you. And if you want to move forward, then we can help you with the services.
Okay. And also, just to be transparent, I am an affiliate of Yunige. So if you take advantage of this offer, they will offer some commission to me, and this helps us keep the programming that we can do for free. So we appreciate that. Let them know that you were referred by Gary 7FSJM live webinar, so they know. Okay. What is, how did they contact you? Is there an email or is there a URL that we can use?
Please use our email and our URL. Again, I will share that with you as well.
Okay. Can you drop that in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Team Yunige. And I saw we had another question come in from Benjamin. In your slide deck, it mentioned that if using ACP, taxes will be based on selling price, but using an importer, taxes will be based on cost price. Could you elaborate further on this, please? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so as I explained, since we will be the importer and we will be looking at your commercial invoice value, which probably will be the cost that is sent out from the manufacturer, we will be declaring that value upon customs and saying that this is the price that we will be buying. And so the value will be, all of the taxes will be calculated upon that, if that answers your question. But when you use an ACP, as I explained, the first person that is buying the item in Japan will be the consumer buying on Amazon. And so in ACP, you will need to submit all selling prices on Amazon. And for an importer, I will be presenting your commercial invoice value.
Okay, excellent. Can you share the email first so we know how to connect with you?
Okay. Sumida-san, sorry, could you put the email in the chat? And our URL as well?
Okay, thank you. So to get the special offer, please email service@yunige, YUNIGE.info, INFO, and then please use the code 7FSJM live webinar to get the discount. All right. Thank you, Sumire-san. Okay, we had another question from Dano. Slightly off topic. How important is it to get a JTC number? What is a JTC number as well?
Okay. Again, this is a new law in Japan. Starting from October 1st, all companies in Japan will need a JCT number. And when we make sales, we will need to check on the JCT number that we're selling the item to the company. And so I think on Amazon Seller Central, Amazon is requesting people to input the JCT number as well. And to my understanding, this will be, well, I mean, this is more used in Japan for B2B sales. And so even in Japan, it's not mandatory to register your JCT number at the moment. You get a better advantage of doing that if you're an entity in Japan. So for somebody outside of Japan, I'm not really sure what the advantages are. But by doing that, you are presenting yourself saying you're getting this much JCT or you're paying this much JCT. So I'm sure the government will be using those numbers to track those transactions.
Okay, excellent. We had some more questions come in earlier. Okay, what about in terms of GST taxes? There was a question about how GST taxes work. Do we have to pay first time when we import and second time when Amazon charges GST as well, or can we claim this?
Right. So basically, I think the GST in Japan is the JCT, Japan Consumption Tax. I think that's what they're talking about, plus the duty tax. And so on import, you have two taxes. One is duty and one is Japan Consumption Tax. Normally, Japan Consumption Tax is 10%. If it's a food item, the lower 8% can be applied. Duty taxes will depend on the HS code or the commodity of the item. And so when something is valued on import, if it needs duty, that duty will be added. And then after that, on top of that, the 10% JCT will be added. And these taxes will need to be paid in advance upon import to custom clear your items. And so in our case, we will be paying that as the importer. And for the sellers, when they sell on Amazon, they are able to collect the JCT from the selling price being sold on Amazon. So unlike Europe, where the VAT is automatically declared by Amazon, in Japan, everything is given back to you, to the seller. And so it's the seller's responsibility to declare that to the Japanese government. However, I do hear that in Japan, there is a 10 million yen threshold for sales. And if you're under that, you don't really have to declare that JCT that you received. So I think it's better to consult your CPA for more legal information on that. But that's kind of like my broad understanding of it.
Okay, thank you. I know that we had a lot of questions pre-submitted, and I shared them with Toshitaka-san. Are there any other important questions that sellers should be asking that we haven't discussed?
Not really a question, but I would like to give one example of what happened after October. I have heard one incident where they were using a type of IOR type service, and customs actually went to the warehouse and checked to see if the items were there, and they requested all of the import documents to that company. And as I was talking before, they were looking for the actual wire transfer receipts. And fortunately, that company was able to submit those documents. So all was okay. But if they weren't able to, they were probably working as an IOR 100%. And for that, they probably would have been tax penalized and would have to pay the difference in the taxes as well. And so, as I said at the beginning, customs is very quiet at the moment. I'm not really sure if they're going to do something, in the future. But when something like that happens, it will get quite scary. So, my advice at the moment is go with the ACP or find an importer, or consult us and make sure that your items are safely imported into Japan, so that you don't go into any other issues in the future.
Okay, yeah, great example of what may happen with customs. You don't know if they're going to knock on the door of your warehouse to request the documents. Okay. And in the chat, Minako had a follow-up question. Sorry again, just to confirm, the declared price on the commercial invoice has to be retail price?
If you're using ACP, yes. And if not, no.
Okay. And Nick, I think you have some feedback on that. Do you want to weigh in? Do you want to unmute yourself? If you can speak.
Hey,
Yes,
Gary.
welcome, Nick.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Nick Katz,
Hello,
seven-figure
Toshitaka.
seller, and he spoke at our last event in April.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was typed. I think Minako was talking about cosmetics in her original thing, if I remember rightly. Maybe I was confusing her with somebody else. Oh, sorry, it wasn't. So I thought she was importing cosmetics, in which case it wouldn't matter because she wouldn't be doing the submission anyway. But I don't think she is talking about that, so you can kind of ignore that. Sorry.
Okay. But Nick, since we have you online, you know, as a seven-figure seller yourself in Japan, and also I know you have a small agency, you're working with select clients as well. What are you seeing in terms of these customs changes, if anything? Are you seeing any changes?
We haven't seen any changes, but that's because we kind of proactively made a change because of them. So one of the brands that we manage in Japan was actually going to switch from using an IOR to actually importing themselves. But as it's a regulated product, we decided obviously not to do that, and so we are continuing with the current process, which is actually using a separate importer to import the products, which is essentially similar to what Toshitaka is talking about. But otherwise, we haven't seen any particular issues. But we've always been doing it a slightly different way anyway, so it's kind of been okay. But people are obviously asking me, so it's good to hear this information from Toshitaka and make sure everyone is aware. I will add one small thing. It's probably not that important for most people here, but obviously, if you have an office in Japan, you can obviously be your own importer. But if you're an international brand and don't have that, you can still register for tax. If you are tax liable, you have to do that anyway, and in which case it doesn't matter if the import tax is high, because that can offset the tax that you pay anyway. But that's only for an international brand that is registered for tax in Japan. So paying the higher tax rate, paying the tax rate based on the selling price on Amazon, not on the import price or the price you pay for goods, doesn't make a difference if you are able to recover that tax either way. That's just one thing I would mention, but that probably, as Toshitaka mentioned, that only really affects businesses that are doing over 10 million Japanese yen in sales a year.
Right. Yeah, that is true. And one thing I would like to add on that, for Japanese consumption tax, yes, but for duty tax, there will be a big difference. So if your items are dutied, for instance, like most food items will be like duty 15%. So something like that may affect the duty because you can't get that back. And with some Japan to country treaties, you can get discounts on these duty taxes. And so if something like that applies, then it may be smart to use an importer.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. All right. I'm looking through the pre-submitted questions. Anything else that we should be aware of before we sign out?
No, so with all that said, at the bottom line, there was one question, do you need to have an entity in Japan? And my answer is no, you can go on selling your items in Japan without an entity in Japan. It's just that the way you import it will affect the duty prices and the upfront taxes that you need to pay. And so still in Japan, you don't need an entity to actually do business with Amazon.
Okay, excellent. Thank you
Okay.
again.
Gary, I would like to ask one question from Toshitaka-san. So, like,
Yes.
if as a Japanese company, we are going to act as importer. So let's say we are showing an invoice with our company details. For example, we have bought these goods from China and we are importing it instead of the seller. So that's the way to act as an importer. So will that impact in our we can say company kisan show, like which we do, like kind of what we call it, accounting of the company? Will that impact on that as well, or that will not?
Effect meaning what kind of effect are you talking about?
Like when you have to you can say submit your documents to the government every single year, and you have to show that what you have spent money on and what was your revenue, so that will count on that as well, right?
Yes, yes. So it will affect on that as well. And if customs comes to inspect the documents, you will have to show those as well. So yeah, all of that will be affected on your kesansho or your tax declaration.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I would like to know like what way Yunige is using so to show that it's really, so do we have to like show a bank transaction, or is just all right in the papers?
In the past, I've tried many ways, and a lot of times customs will not um, say okay or yes unless they see some type of bank transaction receipt. And so that would probably be the easiest way to explain to customs that you are actually buying the item.
All right. So for that, like you guys are showing a bank transaction, or you can say just showing an invoice is all right.
No, we are showing a bank transaction.
Okay, that means like we have to first bring money in from a client and then pay to his supplier. That's how it's working.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Again, so one more thing, like you talked about a warehouse. So let's say we have a warehouse and we are not stopping a goods there. So we received an inventory and we are shipping very next day. So that way we do not have to show the inventory to the customs. Am I right? And we can just show them like it's being sent to Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fine. I just use that system for us. It's us in particular, but I think you can send it directly from the port to FBA and still be the importer without any issues. Now, customs they may ask more questions if that is so, and so that might be something that you might want to consider, but you can do that.
Yeah, definitely. Completely understood. Thanks again for clarification.
Thank you, Umair. All right, we're almost out of time. Nicole had a comment. So if you have to show transaction, do we make the purchase order invoice in our company name, but we send the money to importer to make payment?
So no, we have a different process, and so if you decide to use our services, we will be signing a contract with each other, and this will solve a lot of these questions and a lot of these issues. And so we have a way of making the payment. So you will not actually be making any kind of payment. You'll just be paying the service fees that we actually do.
Okay, excellent. So thank you again, everybody. I wanted to just take 1 minute to share about the next Japan mastermind that we're organizing in April before we sign out, because the reason is many of the people that spoke here today, including Toshitaka, Nick, and attendees as well, like Umair, they were all there in the room. So I think that's a great opportunity to really get some face time with these experts, with other seven-figure sellers selling in Japan, to get all of your questions answered. So I'd like to share with you my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're having our second annual seven-figure seller Japan mastermind next year, and then the first one was a success. We had people from Amazon fly all the way from the US to Japan to speak. And also we had experts, talking about importing IOR, people like Toshitaka-san and Sumire, and every single step of the way, like localization. And we had, a seller like Kengo, who's doing $40 million a year just in Japan. And he's sharing like strategies with, marketing, insert cards, and some cool stuff that, people aren't doing anywhere else in the world. So next year in April 2024, it will be our second seven-figure seller Japan mastermind. It will be April 8th to the 9th, 2 full days in person. And the cool part is we're going to have it in Okinawa, Japan. So Okinawa is known as the Hawaii of Japan. And it's like a blend of different cultures. It's a very cool place. And we're going to have it at a very nice hotel on the beach. So 2 full days of value, trainings, masterminds, as well as networking events and also fun events as well. So next year we're expecting more people to come out, and it's easier to travel. There's no travel restrictions. We're bringing back our great speakers and also new speakers, and also we're going to implement more content such as Rakuten, for example. A lot of people are asking about, besides Amazon, I want to learn more about Rakuten, which is the other big online e-commerce platform. So you'll learn more about that, as well as using AI strategies to save time. So I think this will be the best event for you guys if you do have questions about selling into Japan. And also, of course, we'll also have the fun day with karaoke. We'll have some great food, and then also we'll have some activities. Maybe like we're still planning this out. It's going to be on the beach. We may go scuba diving, snorkeling, deep sea fishing, or kayaking through mangroves, or a scavenger hunt around the island. So it's going to be a great experience. And even if you came last year, I think it'll be different, and you'll get a lot of, obviously, just looking at customs, so much has changed in the past 6 months, right? So 6 months later, everybody will be in the room. So if you have a question about customs, talk to Toshitaka. If you have a question about selling, talk to Nick, right? We're really going to leave no stone unturned. A to Z, how to sell into Japan. It's going to be turnkey solution for you guys. So I want you guys to save the dates first. April 8th to the 9th, it'll be 2 full days, and April 10th will be the fun day, which is optional, but I think it'll be a lot of fun as well, because I know, like, traveling to a conference, we're all the way there, but we want to enjoy the culture, the food. So I'm really trying to plan to create the best experience for you guys. All right. So why don't you just save the date for that first? So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. We're updating the website, 7-Figure Seller Japan Mastermind. We're like 90% confirmed with the venue. Once we have the venue confirmed, we're going to release all the details. All right. So thanks so much for that. Okay, so before we jump, guys, any other questions for Toshitaka about the import laws, the customs? We cover ACP, we cover the new laws, we cover the import value, the different ways of doing this, and also what might happen, right? Toshitaka shared that story, the news about that company that got audited by Japan Customs. They were knocking on their warehouse, right? They have to produce all the records. All right, so let me just check the message. Okay, so Toshitaka also shared the link to the customs website for the change.
Right.
Yeah, so for people that want to keep updated about the changes, where should they go? Besides, us, where should they go to get more information about customs?
Yeah, go to the website, but a lot of times it's all in Japanese, and it's even in English or Japanese, it's still very difficult to understand. So feel free to, send me an email or something. I'll be happy to answer like the questions like Minako-san had. Along the way, there'll be small and precise questions that are needed. Please feel free to ask me, and I'll try to help in any way.
Okay, excellent. And I also re-pasted their email address, Yunige's email address, if you have any questions about customs, importing, compliance, A to Z, they know their stuff. So I highly recommend you check them out. service@yunige.info. All right. Dano said, thanks for organizing this very helpful webinar. You're very welcome. Thanks for your question. I hope this is helpful to you guys. Aiken asks, you missed the time. Okay, we will offer the replay on our channel, on our YouTube channel. If you RSVP, we will email you with the link once it's up in about 24, 48 hours. All right. Toshitaka-san, thank you again. And, I'm always about the 80-20 rule. So if you were to distill down everything we covered today, what's the number one most important recommendation for sellers watching out there?
Use Yunige.
Use Yunige. Okay, besides using Yunige, I mean, that's obvious, right? But in terms of themselves, like what should they do?
Well, please understand the Japanese rules. Make sure that your items are imported well, and stay safe. There's a lot of opportunities in the Japanese market, and I hope that everybody makes a lot of money.
Excellent. Thanks again. Thank you, Yunige team, everyone. And we will see you guys at the next session. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye. Thank you.